right. So pictures. There are pictures to go with these notes. They're on each corresponding slide. You can print them if you have a printer and glue them into the correct slide, or you can draw them. It's up to you. But if you want full credits on the notes this week, you need to have pictures of all of the phases of meiosis. All right. That is a link. You click on it. It will take you to these. And these are the exact pictures that are on the slide. So you should be able to match them fairly easily. Okay. So essential question is the same as last week. How are traits passed through generations? This week we are talking about the process of meiosis. We ended last semester with mitosis, which is a similar process, but mitosis happens in all of your body cells. We talked about the difference between somatic cells, your body cells, and your sex cells last week, your eggs and your sperm. So during meiosis, gametes undergo 2 cell divisions and not just 1. So your eggs and your sperm go through this process to be able to cut your information in half, because you are only allowed to pass half of your traits, half of your chromosomes onto your future children. And the GIF is all of the phases all put together. Start with 1, we end with 4. So meiosis is an early step in sexual reproduction. During meiosis, pairs of chromosomes separate randomly, and this process produces gametes, or the sex cells, the germ cells, the sperm and eggs. Remember from last week, gametes are haploid. They have half the number of chromosomes. A normal number of chromosomes is 46. We only want our children to have 46, as you hopefully saw in the karyotype. Extra or missing chromosomes is trouble. Go to the next. There we go. Phases of meiosis. The phases have the same names as mitosis, but there are 2 rounds. So when talking about the phases of meiosis, there's always going to be a 1 or a 2. And it goes through all of round 1 and then starts over in round 2. So prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. And it starts back over prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. And all the unique processes that we only go through during meiosis happened during the first round. We'll spend a little more time talking about the first round, and then the second round is pretty standard. So prophase 1, it's the same as mitosis. The nuclear membrane disappears. The chromosomes condense. They start to look like the little X-shaped structures. The only difference is homologous chromosomes pair up. We talked about the word homologous last week. Homo means same, logos means structure. So homologous chromosomes have the same structure. So we have the little cartoon, the little GIF of prophase 1. And then on the bottom left, that's what it actually looks like under the microscope. And those are the pictures that I gave you to draw, because those are the pictures that are actually going to be on your quiz and your test. The ones that you look for under the microscope. Crossing over is a very important process that happens during prophase 1. It is the exchange of chromosome segments between homologous chromosomes. It results in new combinations of chromosomes, and this leads to genetic diversity. And so if you have siblings, you and your siblings all have the same parents, your features and your genes are not the exact same, no matter how much you look alike. They're never the exact same, and this is why. Because when the chromosomes in your gametes pair up during prophase 1, they cross over and just exchange information. And I do have a short little video.
Crossing over during meiosis allows recombination of genes between homologous chromosomes. This alters the linkage between genes on the same chromosome. Crossing over occurs frequently during prophase 1 of meiosis, when homologous chromosomes associate with each other in a structure called a tetrad. First, consider the possible inheritance of alleles for 2 genes on a particular chromosome when crossing over does not occur. Recall that one member of each pair of homologous chromosomes came from one parent. The other member came from the other parent. In this example, one parental chromosome had alleles capital A and capital B, while the other had alleles lowercase a and lowercase b. Without crossing over, each haploid cell produced will inherit a chromosome with the same combination of alleles as was on one of the parental chromosomes. Thus, the arrangement of linked genes is not altered in this case. Now consider the case where there is crossing over in the region between the 2 genes. Since the crossing over is only between 2 individual chromatids, the possible haploid cells after meiosis have 4 different genetic combinations. 2 will come from the chromatids that did not participate in crossing over and thus will still have the parental combination of alleles, either capital A and capital B, or lowercase a and lowercase b. The other 2 will be recombinant, with either capital A and lowercase b, or lowercase a and capital B alleles. Thus, crossing over allows for the reassortment of linked genes.
So, all that's to say, it mixes up your parents' genes before they get passed on to you, or it'll mix up your genes before they get passed on to your children. Next phase, metaphase 1. The homologous pairs line up in the middle of the cell. So on the right, it's compared to metaphase and mitosis. They're lined up one by one. But metaphase 1 in meiosis, they line up in pairs. And you can tell by the colors that some of that information has been crossed over. You got a green chromosome with a little bit of blue and a blue chromosome with a little bit of green. And then on the bottom left, that is the image under the microscope that will be on your future quizzes. The next one is called anaphase 1. And the homologous pairs now get separated. to the opposite ends of the cell. I don't know why it's not separating in the picture, but usually separates better. Oh, because that's still metaphase. That's the wrong GIF. I'll fix that later. And then telophase 1 and cytokinesis, the nuclear membrane reforms, the cell undergoes cytokinesis, the chromosomes relax, so you can't see the X structures really anymore. But you can see under the microscope, you can see that line right there is the new cell membrane forming as the cell splits into two. So during telophase, it's a really long cell. And then cytokinesis was when the cell actually splits. And again, these are the exact pictures that you have that need to go on each slide and will be on your test and quiz. Meiosis 2 follows the exact same steps of mitosis as mitosis, but everything is doubled. So now there are two cells going through this process, and in the end, it will be split into 4. So make some kind of a chart in your notes. Draw or glue each picture, each one of these pictures in the right place. So prophase 2, you can see there's 2 little cells in here with its own set of chromosomes that are just starting to thicken. Metaphase 2, you can see the 2 cells, but they're all lined up in the middle. Anaphase 2, they're just starting to separate. Telophase 2, now you can see basically 4 little nuclei in 2 elongated cells that eventually will split into 4 completely new cells. So here is a comparison chart. This chart is important. Make sure you have it. There's a lot of good information. So the 4 key differences. During mitosis, cells divide once. During meiosis, the cells divide twice. Mitosis produces clones, or genetically identical cells. Meiosis, because of that crossing over process, produces genetically unique cells. All 4 cells in the end are going to be very unique. Mitosis results in 2 diploid cells with a full set of 46 chromosomes, where meiosis cuts that number in half. Results in 4 haploid cells with only 23 chromosomes each. And then mitosis is involved in asexual reproduction. Again, the process of cloning. The exact same cells. Some organisms just do that as their sexual process to proliferate themselves. Meiosis is a step involved in sexual reproduction, where the male and female gametes come together to make the zygotes, embryos, new babies. And this is a little GIF of the process. It's not something you have to write down. But mitosis, Attack of the Clones, start with 46, end with 46, the exact same cells. Meiosis, everything is unique. Start with 46, end with 23, and there's 4 of them. Just an overall animation of both processes. And that is all. So instead of writing the summary this week, you need to make sure you have the pictures in the correct places. They're all the exact same pictures I gave you. You can draw them or cut them out and glue them from that document if you want. Either way works. And then I'm going to go back to the beginning really quickly and say one more time that electronic notes will not be accepted. Notes need to be taken. The words need to be taken on actual paper by hand and a pen or a pencil.